For decades, the typical advice to first-time suppressor buyers has been to buy the 30 cal can first, which was good back then, but now with new changes coming to the NFA and the removal of the $200 tax stamp, that is changing, and I think the advice along with it needs to change as well. So today in this video, we're going to talk about what we think the order of your suppressor purchases should be. HGX1, this is their Made in America pistol rundown.
All right, so the order that you purchase suppressors in, I believe, is strongly tied to the order that you should buy firearms in. So let's go back and assume that you own nothing, no firearms whatsoever. The official OHC stance is that you should first buy a 9mm concealed carry handgun, something you'll carry with you every day. And that's because that's the weapon that you're most likely to use given a self-defense situation. You want it to be something that you can always have on you. Following that, we recommend that you buy a rifle, and generally that's a 5.56 AR-15. You can pick your favorite barrel length and all of that, but this is kind of the core of our American inheritance of being people that are good, dangerous, and free, that can shoot out to distance, that are very capable. And I think it's important that every American owns an AR-15, and we suggest 5.56. After that, kind of the world's your oyster, and I would say at this point, you've got the bases covered, and you should look at calibers and weapon systems that give you unique capabilities. Think long range with, bolt action rifles and cartridges like 6.5 Creedmoor or 308. Think suppressed quiet capability, 22 or 308 Blackout. Is there any other cartridges I'm missing? I feel like I'm missing.
Like 338 ARC or 8.6 Black.
Maybe something like a shotgun for bird hunting. Also, now drones are a consideration. And so I'd say once you get your two bases, you should start expanding out. And so now going back to the suppressors, I don't think the first can you should buy should be for your concealed carry handgun, because that's a gun that needs to be compact, easily carried every day, and you're just not going to carry it with a suppressor. And so I would say skip to the next one, the next most important weapon, which is your rifle, and that is a 5.56 suppressor. So for years, people have said that you should buy 308 first. And I think the big reason for that is with the $200 tax stamp, you want a suppressor that can work on your bolt action, on your rifle, technically could work on 9mm. Actually, I don't think 308 could.
They do make some cans, like some of the rugged cans where they're bored for like 338 or something like that, and you can run 9mm or just a whole bunch of different calibers.
Like the interchangeable end caps usually,
Yeah.
things like that. And I think now that the tax stamp is going to $0, that we should reconsider our buying process. And so that's why we think your first can should be a 5.56 can for your main battle rifle. Then after that, likewise, I think you should then consider expanding your capabilities. You kind of got, honestly, that's the can that you need, and the world is your oyster. Now, if you've gone down the long range path and you've got a 338, a 308, a 6.5 Creedmoor, then you should consider buying a can for that rifle. It just makes shooting long range a lot more pleasant, especially with very loud cartridges and things like that. Would you tell somebody to buy a long range weapon first or a 22 first?
To me, it really depends on like what you're interested in, where you live. I still don't own a 308 or a 6.5 or something. 6 ARC has kind of filled that role for me. It's kind of what it is for me, especially in Tennessee. I don't feel the need for anything more than that. So it's kind of situation dependent. And I think that's what we've learned over the years. We've had the opportunity and been blessed enough to shoot a lot of different suppressors, a lot of different guns. And the reality is that you're most likely not going to be switching suppressors around guns as often as you think you are. You're typically gonna buy a can and it's gonna live on one gun. If you have another 5.56 gun, then it might go over there, but I think that's just the reality of it. Speaking from my own experience and a lot of other guys that I trust as well in the industry that have, again, been blessed enough to use a lot of different cans, a lot of different guns. Every gun pretty much has its own suppressor, and now that the $200 tax stamp requirement has been removed, I think that barrier to entry will get a lot more people into the suppressor game. So this is just some education and hopefully some words of wisdom from people that have done it a good bit.
And the one thing that's changed a lot in the past few years, or really just this year, is people have asked me about 9mm, and I've said, just don't do it. You have to use a booster. It's only going to be reliable for like the first 100 rounds until it gets all fouled up. It's just not a good idea. And now we're starting to see what I would call a boosterless can coming out. So there are 9mm cans that are ultra lightweight, meaning that you don't have to deal with a booster. And so the cool thing about that is now you could buy a separate barrel for your EDC gun, and you could have a suppressed 9mm handgun that you could use for something like home defense. If you're already going to use a handgun for home defense anyway, then the cool thing about having a suppressor is that you could shoot this inside your house and not completely lose your hearing. Now that Flux has their 365 Raider, you have something that is effectively the same length as an unsuppressed 320 Raider, and yet now it's suppressed with a longer barrel. You can still carry, how many rounds was it with
like
these?
43,
yeah,
I believe.
43 rounds. On a package that you could fit in a backpack, or you could fit underneath a jacket really easily. In the past, I've told people don't even bother with 9mm cans, and now that we're seeing boosterless cans like this come out, it's something that I would consider again.
So yeah, super manageable. It sounds really good. Recoil impulse is not too bad. Let's keep shooting it.
So if you don't own any suppressors, come January, $0 tax stamp, you want to buy a can, I say start with the 5.56. Then after that, consider, based on the path you've taken, 308, 22, 9mm. And the other cool thing is there's a lot of options on the market now. There are some that are very old but have a lot of pedigree. Yeah, they have a lot of rounds on them. They're very trusted. But there's also a lot of really cool companies like Stealth Additive Works that's come out with this shiv, this boosterless can.
Yeah, this thing is really, really cool.
They have a really great 22 can. It's very, very quiet. And their Ekron, we've also been really impressed with. It's one of the only cans that has come out in recent years that has kind of made it to the top of our list as far as sound performance goes. And so anyway, just know there are also some really cool new companies you should keep an eye out for. And yeah, I would say get down in the comments, share your thoughts, and basically just help your bros don't waste money on something just because there's no longer a $200 tax stamp. Be strategic with your money and focus on things that make you more prepared. And that might not even be a suppressor. So just don't necessarily have to buy one just because the tax stamp is gone.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different variables when it comes to picking your actual suppressor that you're going to spend your hard-earned money on. Material choice, Inconel versus titanium, low back pressure versus standard baffle stack or higher back pressure cans. There's just a lot of different stuff going on. And one piece of advice that I could give you, you need to look at the full stack of variables when you're suppressing a rifle. It's not just how quiet it is, right? Because you could have a high back pressure can and have a really good muzzle number. It's quiet at the muzzle, but it's not super quiet at the port because of how much gas you're sending back into there. Flash comes into play, thermal properties, like low back pressure cans, they tend to heat up, or they tend to show their heat a lot faster, especially when looking under thermal. So if that's a concern to you, you need to take a look at that stuff as well. There's just a lot of different variables that you need to consider, and don't just go off of one variable. And another disclaimer, don't go off of videos. People do a lot of sound tests on video and it just does not translate well. People do not have the microphones necessary to properly capture the sound that a suppressor is giving off in different environments. There's only like one guy on YouTube that I really trust, which is Juicy Media. I was talking to him. He spent a lot of money on a microphone setup to capture it as best as he can, and it's still not as accurate as being there in person. So a couple sources that I would recommend. Pew Science, I'm sure you guys know him. I have actually shot a good few of those suppressors on that list, and they do seem to translate pretty well to real world use. And then can contrast, that is a great way to compare cans side by side if you want to see how long a suppressor is, with a mount, without a mount. So just use those resources, they're free. There is a paid version of Pew Science as well if you really want to dig into the nuggets, but I highly encourage you guys to do your research. Don't go off of videos, it's not a good idea. If you just want to get like a general impression, then sure, but I probably wouldn't make a large purchasing decision like a suppressor based on some guy using an iPhone microphone or even a camera microphone or something like that. The environment that you're shooting a suppressor in, or people that you're watching shoot the suppressor in, they're shooting under like a metal roof on a range or something like that, that's going to change the sound. In this area here, this is like a valley, it will probably sound louder here than something like at Mason's Farm where it's just an open sod field. concealed.
Yeah.
We've observed that quite a bit. If you're shooting in the snow tends to eat a lot of the sound too. So just environments play a big difference as well. So it's hard to capture like the true sound. I like this can. This is nice. Sounds pretty good.
Any suppressor is going to be an improvement over an unsuppressed gun. It makes a huge difference. I would say I'm not the type of guy to say to go buy the cheapest one. If you don't have the money, then there are some cans it'll cut down a lot of the bark of the gun.
Yeah.
But I would say I'm definitely the mid-tier guy. I'm not always the guy that goes for the top shelf, but pick something that's like your good middle of the road, your BCM kind of can. And we'll put at the end of this video or down in the caption, we'll put like a blog, and we'll try to put together kind of our advice and what we would recommend for each caliber and some general helpful tips about buying suppressors. I know there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be buying suppressors in January, and so as people who have shot many suppressors on many guns, hopefully we can help you guys make a better decision and not have some buyer's remorse that I definitely have around some of my cans.
Yep, comment down below. Just any questions, we'll try and answer all of them.
Yeah, and drop your wisdom, because there's a lot of guys out there that have shot even more cans than us. So.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?